You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
It's Croctober, the official celebration of Crocs fans like you. So whether you like to rock your classic clogs, get cozy and fuss-lined, personalize with your favorite Jibbitz charms, or even, dress up like a clog for Halloween, it's time to tell your story and share your style. Join the Croctober celebration with Crocs fans around the world. Go to crocs.com to discover the range of shoes and find a pair that's iconic like you. Crocs, celebrating you all month long.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Cortex. Security teams face a barrage of more security tools create more complexity. More devices need protection. More specialized focus areas create more silos. The security landscape is changing fast. How can security operations transform to meet current threats? Cortex by Palo Alto Networks consolidates SecOps tools into an integrated platform and helps organizations stop threats at scale with AI, automation, and analytics. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com/Cortex. Microsoft describes a macOS vulnerability. A trio of healthcare organizations reveal data breaches affecting nearly 750,000 patients. Group IB infiltrates a ransomware-as-a-service operation. Instagram rolls out new measures to combat sextortion schemes. Updates from Bitdefender address man-in-the-middle attacks. An Alabama man is arrested for allegedly hacking the SEC. In our Industry Voices segment, Jerry Gable, VP of Strata Identity, describes how to ensure identity continuity during IDP disruption, disconnection, or diminished environments. CISOs want to see their roles split into two positions, and Game Freak servers take a critical hit. It's Friday, October 18th, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here. Happy Friday. Great to have you with us. Microsoft has discovered a vulnerability in macOS called HM-Surf, which allows attackers to bypass Apple's Transparency, Consent, and Control Protections, TCC. This flaw grants unauthorized access to sensitive user data, including camera, microphone, location, and browser history. The vulnerability specifically affects Safari, as its TCC entitlements can be exploited to bypass privacy checks. Microsoft reported the issue to Apple, which released a fix in the September 2024 macOS Sequoia update. Users are urged to apply the update immediately, as Microsoft detected potential exploitation by the AdLoad malware family. Attackers could use this flaw to access a device's location, capture camera snapshots, record audio, or stream data without the user's knowledge. While third-party browsers like Chrome and Firefox are not affected, Safari's default status makes this a significant threat. Staying with Microsoft, Redmond has warned enterprise customers of a bug that caused critical security logs to be partially lost between September 2nd and October 3rd, potentially leaving companies vulnerable to undetected threats. The issue, which affected services like Microsoft Entra, Azure Logic Apps, and Microsoft Sentinel, hindered the ability to monitor suspicious activity and generate security alerts. The bug stemmed from a fix to the log collection service, which inadvertently created a deadlock condition, preventing proper log uploads. Although the issue has been resolved, some companies did not receive notifications. This follows previous criticism of Microsoft for requiring payment for advanced logging features, which limited access to critical security data during major breaches. Microsoft has since expanded its free logging capabilities for Purview Audit standard customers. Three healthcare organizations, Omni Family Health, Tri-City Medical Center, and New York Plastic Surgery, have reported major data breaches affecting around 740,000 patients and employees. Omni Family Health, a network of 40 clinics in California, disclosed that roughly 470,000 individuals were impacted after sensitive data, including Social Security numbers and medical information, was leaked on the dark web. Tri-City Medical Center in San Diego County reported a breach affecting about 108,000 people, exposing patient data from suspicious network activity. New York Plastic Surgery's breach impacted nearly 162,000 individuals, with compromised data, including Social Security numbers, biometric data, and medical records. Ransomware groups are suspected in that incident. These breaches highlight the growing trend of healthcare cyber attacks, often involving data theft, as attackers increasingly target the abundant and accessible sensitive data in the healthcare sector. The Cicada 3301 ransomware as a service group had its affiliate program infiltrated by Group IB researchers, revealing new details about the gang's operations. Active since June of this year, Cicada 3301 has claimed at least 30 victims, mainly in the US and UK. The group shares similarities with the defunct AlphaV Black Cat ransomware, although it's unclear if they rebranded or bought its source code. Cicada 3301's affiliate panel, accessible via Tor, allows affiliates to customize attacks, manage victims, and negotiate ransom payments. Affiliates earn a 20% commission and can adjust encryption methods and landing page types. The ransomware is written in Rust, targeting Windows, Linux, and even older systems like PowerPC. Cicada 3301 avoids attacking Commonwealth of Independent States countries and communicates in both Russian and English. Group IB's findings highlight the professionalism and evolving threats posed by modern ransomware groups. Instagram has introduced new security measures to combat sextortion scams, which have surged by over 300% from 2021 through 2023. The platform now hides follower lists, prevents screenshotting of sensitive images in direct messages, and expands its nudity protection feature globally. Alongside these updates, Instagram is partnering with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to create educational resources to help teens recognize sextortion scams. Additionally, Instagram launched teen accounts, offering built-in protections such as private profiles by default, restricted messaging settings, and time management features. Parents will also have greater oversight through supervision tools, allowing them to monitor messages and set daily limits. Bitdefender Total Security was found vulnerable to multiple man-in-the-middle attacks due to improper certificate validation in its HTTPS scanning feature. These vulnerabilities, identified under several CVEs, allow attackers to intercept and alter communications between users and websites. Issues include trusting self-signed and insecure certificates and failing to verify certificate chains and hash functions. All vulnerabilities received a high CVSS score of 8.6, signaling significant risks to user data confidentiality and integrity. Bitdefender has released an update to fix these issues. Eric Council Jr., a 25-year-old from Alabama, was arrested for his alleged involvement in the January hack of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's social media account. The hack falsely announced the approval of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, causing Bitcoin's price to briefly spike by over $1,000. Authorities say Mr. Council used a SIM swap technique to impersonate someone with access to the SEC's account, allowing hackers to post the fake announcement. The SEC quickly denied the post, clarifying no approval had been granted. Mr. Council is charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated identity theft and access device fraud. Following the hack, Bitcoin's price surged to nearly $48,000 before falling back to around $45,200 after the SEC's clarification. A survey by Trellix and Vanson Bourne found that 84% of CISOs advocate for splitting their role into two positions, technical and business-focused, due to the growing complexity and cybersecurity threats and regulatory demands. With 98% of CISOs concerned about keeping up with evolving regulations and 79% finding the compliance burden unsustainable, many are seeking external insights, with 87% preferring peer discussions over solo research. CISOs are also under pressure to maintain frequent communication with leadership, with nearly half reporting to the board weekly. The expanding scope of the role has led to burnout, with half of CISOs not seeing a long-term future in the position. Coming up after the break on our Industry Voices segment, Jerry Gable from Strata Identity describes how to ensure identity continuity. Stay with us. Imagine this. Your primary identity provider goes down, whether it's a cloud outage, network issue, or even a cyber attack. Suddenly, your business grinds to a halt. But what if it didn't have to? Meet Identity Continuity from Strata, the game-changing solution that keeps your business running smoothly no matter what. Whether your cloud IDP crashes or your on-prem system faces a hiccup, Identity Continuity seamlessly shifts authentication to a secondary or even tertiary IDP, automatically and without disruption. Powered by the Mavericks Identity Orchestration Platform, Identity Continuity uses smart health checks to monitor your IDP's availability and instantly activates failover strategies tailored to your needs. When the coast is clear, it's a seamless switch back. No more downtime, no lost revenue, no frustrated customers. Just continuous, secure access to your critical applications every single time. Protect your business from the high costs of IDP outages. With Identity Continuity from Strata, downtime is a thing of the past. Visit strata.io/cyberwire to learn how Strata's Identity Continuity can provide seamless enhanced capabilities to your existing identity fabric and receive a free set of AirPods Pro. And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the National Science Foundation's CyberCore Scholarship for Service program, which covers tuition, required fees, university-sponsored health insurance, and a $6,000 annual professional development allowance, as well as providing a $37,000 additional annual stipend. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI. Jerry Gable is Vice President at Strata Identity, and in today's sponsored Industry Voices segment, he describes how to ensure identity continuity during IDP disruption, disconnection, and diminished environments. I would love to start off with some high-level stuff here. When people find themselves in this situation, in this time that we live in, where I think most people think of us as having great uptime percentages, right? Things work most of the time. Are they putting proper planning in place for the potential of an identity disruption?
The answer is probably no, because whenever there is some kind of significant outage happening, and it doesn't have to be an IDP outage per se, an identity provider outage, I think the recent CrowdStrike example raised people's focus or awareness again that are we doing enough planning? And I think typically the answer is no. So then you go back to the drawing board and go through whatever your standard procedures are and try to highlight, okay, where did something go wrong and can we do something to improve it or to avert that outage in the future? So, I mean, that would be my perspective on that question.
It seems to me like it would be easy for folks to kind of take their cloud identity providers for granted, that when they're doing their planning to maybe not consider or put that towards the bottom of the list that things that could go wrong. Is that a fair way to think about how many folks approach the situation?
I think it's easy for you to get into that mindset, and maybe not realizing how much effort it took to get to an availability level of 5 nines when you were running your own software in your own data center environment. And now you've outsourced that to a cloud provider and they can provide, say, 4 nines. And that sounds pretty close, but it's not, quite up to the same par that you were doing on your own. So there is that significance in that different SLA, if you will, but also it's now out of your control. And maybe you're thinking, well, they're telling me that they're the experts at this and it's not something that, me, the customer, should worry about anymore. And so, yeah, you could be lulled into that, that sense of security, certainly.
Yeah, before we get to some of your suggestions for how folks can protect themselves against this, can we go through some of the potential causes of an IDP outage? What sort of things are people up against here?
Well, again, the software is out of your control, right? So a SaaS identity provider is managing that environment. So you don't control the change control process anymore. So they could introduce an error when they do their own change control on their side. So that could result in an outage. Or there could be some misconfiguration that you do on your own side that results in an outage. It could be, the backhoe hits the fiber for one of the data centers where they're located, and that causes an outage. So, so there's different ways that this can happen.
Well, let's go through some of the best practices here together. What are the recommendations that you and your colleagues there make?
Well, I like to play on words a little bit here and say, categorize, prioritize, and improvise. Really, categorize is getting a catalog of all the different identity components, because it's not just your identity provider. There could be other components within the identity infrastructure that are part of enabling an application to operate. That could include other sources of attribute information, risk metrics, multi-factor authentication, and so on. So there are multiple moving parts likely involved in a typical application deployment. So you need to understand, what is that full inventory, that full catalog of different components? How do they interrelate? And is there a single point of failure somewhere? So that's what I think is one of the first places to start, so that you truly understand your environment.
What about things like failover, like, having backup systems that you can sort of seamlessly switch over to a secondary system if need be?
That's right. That would be one way to handle a failing situation. And maybe you don't do this for the entire user population. Maybe you only do this for higher priority applications. We like to say, that maybe the inventory or the finance app is more important than the cafeteria menu app for the week, right? So
Right.
we don't necessarily have to replicate every single application, but part of prioritizing is knowing, okay, which ones do I really need to keep running to keep my business going, to keep manufacturing automobiles or to keep dispensing medicine and so on. For those systems, if possible, yes, you want to have failover scenarios for each of those components I mentioned, or a collection of them, that support those critical business applications.
And help me understand here. I mean, the way these systems work, if I lose connectivity with my cloud provider, or are there systems available where things can run locally in the meantime, and then reconcile what happened when we get our connection back?
Yes, I think so. Most organizations, most large enterprises are still running in a hybrid mode. So they're not 100% cloud-based. Or even if they are 100% cloud-based, they're not using one single cloud provider. So there could be alternatives to fail over to an on-premises system for authentication and access, for example, or potentially to a secondary cloud provider's IDP and similar capabilities, so that you can keep operating during these scenarios.
What about the physical connections themselves? I think about, oh gosh, how often in a work situation where everyone's running around because the internet's down and people fall back to their portable mobile devices, those kinds of things. Are those wireless networks a viable option for some organizations?
Well, I mean, it could even be viable for us on this podcast, right? If I lose my ISP, then potentially I can log in, through my mobile phone and maybe have an interruption, but keep on going. So absolutely, and that's another way to think about, improvising your recovery or failover scenarios. What are the alternate paths that I can take to get to my, my identity systems as well as to my applications? So absolutely.
What are the tips that you would share with folks who are in the early stages of this journey? They want to get a better handle on this. Any words of wisdom, the things that you and your colleagues have learned along the way to make this a smoother process as folks are getting going here?
Yeah, I think it goes a little bit back to a comment I made earlier is about really understanding the different identity components in your environment, because even those systems are fairly complex. So understanding what components are supporting each of your, let's say, your high priority business applications, and then their interdependencies, and therefore where are the failure points. So really understanding the environment to that degree really helps not only manage for failures, but also it helps in just general problem determination. When some error condition occurs, it makes it much faster in your response, so that you can more quickly go through your decision, your problem determination tree, and figure out, okay, what is the actual cause of this problem? Is it the identity provider? Is it some attribute source that's failing or slowing down? Is the multi-factor authentication system still working properly? So having the metrics and the the operational awareness of these different components will help you in failure situations. It'll help you recognize what parts of your environment potentially are slowing down at different points. And then also, like I said, for problem determination. So I think that's a key aspect of this. And then to look at how to isolate those high priority applications and business functions that you need to support, regardless of the availability of your primary identity components. How can we arrange for a failover scenario that even if it's not full function, that we can continue to operate those business systems until the primary systems are fully back up and running.
The folks that you work with, who've seen success here, what are the stories that you hear from them in terms of adopting a system, an integrated system, the types of things that you and your colleagues provide, versus trying to roll your own, trying to go it alone? What are some of the benefits that you hear them share with you?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come to mind. Well, actually, a few things. The first two are interrelated. One is the cost involved with rolling your own, and the time that it takes to implement a roll your own scenario here, because the stories I've heard have involved a tremendous amount of customization, as well as deep expertise in how those particular identity products work. Now, it works very well in their environment for their scenario, but it was a tremendous amount of time and cost to get it up and running. But the third aspect I would point out is the increase in flexibility that you have when you properly architect your environment, just for general operation, but also for how to handle these failover scenarios. If you can implement an architecture that in and of itself allows you the flexibility to more easily switch between environments, that is a tremendous benefit in multiple ways, right? It's faster to set up, a lot cheaper to purchase and maintain, but also it enables you to more quickly react to different failure scenarios. Do you want them to be automated so that when a primary system is offline for a specific period of time, we automatically switch to a secondary? Or do you want us to manually control that, be based on different signals that, the customer is managing from other risk sources or for example. So yeah, I'd say, cost, time, and flexibility are the important aspects there that we've heard about.
Our thanks to Jerry Gable, VP of Strata Identity, for joining us. And now, a word from our sponsor, Maltego. Maltego's all-in-one platform for OSINT and investigations speeds up complex investigations from hours to minutes. Trusted by half of Dow Jones and governments around the world, it helps cyber threat intelligence teams, fraud analysts, and law enforcement agencies integrate the most relevant data and enhance situational awareness to combat crime and mitigate risks. Detect threats early and solve cases quickly. Go to www.maltego.com/get-a-demo to explore how Maltego keeps businesses and the public safe. That's www.maltego.com/get-a-demo. And finally, our Pokedex Chronicle desk reports that it looks like Team Rocket isn't the only one causing trouble for Game Freak. The co-owner of the Pokemon franchise confirmed a cyber attack earlier this year, resulting in a major data leak. Hackers allegedly nabbed over 1 terabyte of data, including personal information of 2,600 employees, names, emails, and potentially some unreleased evolutions of upcoming projects, although Game Freak isn't saying. Fans were quick to jump on the leaks, with design documents and Pokemon art surfacing on platforms like X Twitter and Reddit. Game Freak has since patched up its systems and is training hard to boost security, promising it won't let another cyber Snorlax nap on their servers again. In a heartfelt apology, the company expressed regret for the inconvenience caused. Looks like this breach hit harder than a hyper beam, but Game Freak's ready to catch 'em all. All the cyber threats, that is.
Snorlax.
And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. Be sure to check out this week's Research Saturday. This week we've got Chester Wisniewski, Global Field CTO from Sophos XOps team, sharing his team's work on the return of Chinese cyber espionage campaign, Crimson Palace. That's Research Saturday. Check it out. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K CyberWire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector. from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your team smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karp. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilpe is our publisher. And I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week. Quick question. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. And it's now available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at 1password.com/cyberwire. That's 1password.com/cyberwire.